How the Fuck to Cook, a cooking show for regular people in regular kitchens. I'm your host, Mad Ange. Today, we're going to be making chocolate-covered peanut butter bonbons. Primary ingredient is Rice Krispies of whatever sort. Today I'm using gluten-free once again. But you can make it with Cocoa Krispies. If you want to omit the powdered sugar, you can use frosted ones. You can use peanut butter, almond butter, cookie butter, any kind of fucking butter, and can of butter. Pretty much any kind of butter except for just regular butter. You need to have something a little bit thicker to go in there. First thing you're going to do is grab your toasted rice cereal of whatever variety. And you're going to measure out. So you're going to open the fucking box first. You're going to measure out about 3 cups of this. So, put it in a big fucking bowl. Big bowl. You're going to need lots of room for mixing. And the next thing you're going to do, unless you're using a frosted variety, you're going to want to go ahead and put in some powdered sugar. 2 cups of powdered sugar. And it's going to look like a lot of powdered sugar, but if you're worried about them being too sweet, you can lessen it a little bit, not too much. You don't really want to go below 1.5 cups for this much cereal. But if you're worried about it being too sweet, just use dark chocolate instead of milk chocolate. I'm using milk chocolate because, fuck yeah, milk chocolate. Really get that powdered sugar in there. And again, it's going to look like too much powdered sugar. That's fine. Once you put the liquid ingredients in there, it's really going to kind of ball all up and get all together. No big deal. So glad I decided to wear a black shirt for this. Alright, go ahead and set that aside. Done with that for now. Next thing you do, get a saucepan, and you're going to be putting in 2 cups of peanut butter. Now the next thing we're going to do is put butter in there. You're going to use a 1/2 cup of butter, which is a whole stick. Just put the whole thing in there. It doesn't need to be softened, doesn't need, no. You're going to be melting it anyway, so it doesn't matter. And now what we're going to do is take this and put it on the stove and melt it all together. You're going to want to put this on like a medium heat. You don't want it too hot, otherwise the peanut butter is going to start burning. You just want it to be enough to melt. And this is going to take a little bit. You're just going to keep stirring it. Again, don't want it to burn, just want it to melt. Just keep stirring it. It'll be fine. Melt peanut butter, god damn it! Once it gets all melted, it's going to turn into a very soup-like consistency. That's perfect. You just want to make sure there's no chunks of butter. It shouldn't be boiling. You want to make sure all that butter is nice and melted. Then you go ahead and take it off the heat and bring it over here to where all your dry stuff is. So now what you're going to do is go ahead and slowly pour it in here while mixing. You're going to want to scrape it all out of the pan. You're going to want all this peanut butter. Alright. You're going to mix this all up, get it all nice and perfectly blended. It's going to take a little bit, but not as long as melting the peanut butter did. You really want to make sure it's worked in there because you don't want any pockets of just sugar and cereal. And you're going to want to do this fairly quickly, otherwise that peanut butter is going to start solidifying again. All right. Once it's all mixed together, it's going to be this kind of solid doughy mass. What you're going to want to do next is take some wax paper, parchment paper, etc., and you're going to want to line a cookie sheet, a plate, anything you can fucking find with it before you start making these into balls. All right. So now what you're going to do is you're going to take a spoon, tablespoon, teaspoon, whatever, depends on preference, depends on how big you want them. You're going to go ahead and take a spoonful of this and you're going to squish it into a ball. You can also use a rounded measuring spoon or measuring cup for this, but you're going to make them into little balls and then put them onto the wax or parchment paper. And you're going to continue doing this until you run out of dough. See, you just kind of, it's easy enough for you to handle the dough. It's not too sticky. You're going to be a bit buttery afterward, but who doesn't like being a little bit buttery? So keep doing that until you're all out of dough. So once you're done rolling them into balls, they should look something like this. They don't really need to be a consistent uniform size. They just have to be close enough. You're going to go ahead and you're going to take these trays and you're going to put them in the fridge to let them cool off for a while. All right, so now that these have been in the fridge for about an hour, they should be nice and solid. They should be cooled all the way through. And you want to make sure that they are, otherwise they'll start falling apart as soon as you put them into the chocolate. So let's get them out of the fridge. Put them there. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to make a double boiler, since I don't actually have one. And you're just going to take any 2 pots. You want a relatively shallow one just for the water. It's not going to take much water. And then a deeper one to fit all the chocolate. So we're going to fill this up with a little bit of water. It really isn't going to take more than about a half a cup. And we're going to turn that on. And wait for it to boil. Now, once the water in here starts pretty much boiling, you can put the next pot inside of it. It's going to kind of float. Don't worry about that. Once you put the chocolate in there, it's not going to float. Let's go ahead and grab the chocolate. Now to start with, it takes a variant amount depending on how many bonbons you ended up making. You're going to want to start with about 3 cups of chocolate though, which seems like a lot, but it's really not. So go ahead and put those in the top pan. Now, one thing you want to watch out for is if you put too much water in the bottom pan, it is going to kind of push the top one around and it is going to boil over, which is exactly what's happening to me right now. So we're going to go ahead and dump out a little bit of this bottom water, just a little bit. There we go. That should be good. Like I said, it really doesn't take much. And as that water is heating up, you're going to start stirring those chocolates or the chocolate chips. Oh, God. Whatever. You're going to start stirring the fucking chocolate. And because it's going to start melting pretty much right away. And this is going to take a little bit. So once you've got the chocolate nice and melted, it should be a nice, even consistency. Make sure you don't have any lumps in there. Not that it's really going to matter a whole lot if you do. And at this point, I'm going to go ahead and turn the stove off, just because I know, again, that hot water is going to keep that chocolate soft. We're going to grab a spoon and a fork. And you're going to grab one of the bonbons, and you're going to toss it in the chocolate. If you have a dipping spoon, fuck yeah, use it. If you don't, just throw it the fuck in there. Get your fork, get your spoon, kind of roll it onto the spoon, You don't want too much chocolate on there. You want it coated. But anything excess is really just going to drip off while it's cooling anyway. So kind of make sure it's just coated enough. And then you are literally going to take it and put it directly back onto the cookie sheet. Doesn't matter if you kind of smear chocolate around. They're all going on there anyway. It's just going to come off. You can throw a few of them in there at a time. Doesn't matter. You might, however, want to take out the wooden spoon if you're using a smaller pot like I'm using right now, because then you won't have enough room to dip them. Set that back there. All right, yeah, just roll them around in there. Don't let them sit in there for too long, because they will start to melt, and that just becomes an epic pain in the ass. There we go. See? Don't those look awesome? Yeah. All right. And you're just going to keep doing this with all of them until they're done. So once you're done dipping these in the chocolate, you're going to put them back in the fridge, and they can stay there for pretty much as long as you like. You don't really want to leave them out, because otherwise, if you live someplace warm, they are going to start to melt. Just keep them in like Ziploc bags, plastic containers, whatever. They'll keep for a while. Make sure when you're putting them on the parchment paper that they don't stick together. Like, you don't want them rubbing up against each other. Otherwise, they're going to be impossible to get apart once they're chilled. Alright, so now that you're done dipping them all in chocolate, you're going to go ahead and take the entire tray and put it back into the fridge until you want them, until they're set. I don't know, they take about 15-20 minutes for the chocolate to re-solidify. But then after that, you pretty much want to store them in the fridge so they don't melt and get all weird and whatever. And they'll keep for a while. So. All right, so they should be ready now. They've been in here for a while. And let's try one. Let's see. Oh, yeah. See? Chocolate's all nice set up firm. Fuck yeah.